Hi there, my name's Edward. I'm the Director of Agriculture at Deep Science Ventures, and this is a very quick video to give some of our partners and friends a quick update on what we're up to at DSV Agriculture sector. So the latest program at Deep Science Ventures Agriculture is called the NatureTech program and Thesis, and this is how we combine everything we can across agriculture, climate change, nature-based solutions, biodiversity conservation, and food security. Our goal is to launch the NatureTech program in multiple regions around the world, building on success that we've had here in the UK and also in Costa Rica in the tropical program that we're running, and to set up a number of different venture building programs with partners all over the world who can help transform agriculture to deliver changes and uplift in carbon sequestration and the restoration of ecosystem services all over the world. Now, our results at Deep Science Ventures are pretty smashing. We've built 35 companies in about 5 years, and the total valuation of those companies now exceeds £250 million, with some very high quality investors from brand name investors all around the world. The NatureTech program is part of DSV Agriculture, and our goal is to increase food security in the face of ecosystem collapse and climate change, whilst restoring biodiversity and ecosystems. So, in general, what we are looking at doing is taking much of the good work that exists in sustainable agriculture, which can deliver carbon outcomes at gigaton scales, but scaling this up with a lot of deep technology in order to meet what is a $800 billion shortfall in funding for biodiversity conservation and restoration around the world. And that's really important because biodiversity underpins ecosystem services, which are giving us up to $54 trillion of value from nature for free, more or less, every single year. But it's not free anymore. Now, nature based carbon markets were proposed some time ago as a possible solution, adding nature and biodiversity onto a carbon credit, but only $1.3 billion of value was added. And this is intrinsically unstable. Instead, we're focusing on new models that can directly intervene in biodiversity, directly remove carbon from the atmosphere, and directly impact the environment within existing value chains. Now, I mentioned sustainable agriculture, regenerative agriculture. These things are effectively ideologies. What we're doing is we're taking some of the spirit of those movements and combining them with deep technology in order to achieve regenerative agriculture in a high-tech fashion. And our goal is to create new high growth nature based solutions startups that can deliver value through products and services for farmers and agribusiness, whilst also giving value back to nature. So our goal is effectively to build these nature tech companies that derive value and revenue from these new products and services launched into an already existing $13 trillion agricultural market. We're servicing a market that already exists, that wants more productivity, that wants more value, that wants more security. And we can also derive additional value from creating secondary markets akin to carbon credits for additional revenue impact and investor interest in the future. So, agriculture is effectively our vehicle to launch these new nature based solutions into the environment and achieve impact in carbon, nature, climate, and food security simultaneously. What customer segments need to be satisfied by each of the different companies and products and services that we create? There's three: producers and farmers, nature itself, and agribusiness and traders. Producers and farmers don't really care about sustainability. We think that producers and farmers should care about what they've always cared about: yields, resilience, enhanced operations, and optimization of their resources. So our goal is to create products and services that farmers love. If we do that, they'll adopt those products, the companies will scale, they'll make money, and then they can scale their impact. Where is that impact happening? In nature. Each product and service that each company creates should work for restoration of ecosystem services, whether it's reduction in pollution, optimization of freshwater and land use, restoration of soil and nutrient cycles, or directly regenerating biodiversity, or indirectly reducing the damage to biodiversity. If farmers are buying those products that they want, and those products are doing that for nature, that company will scale. As for agribusiness and traders, what they want is really to prove that they are part of the solution and that they are involved in supplying the right kind of farmers using the right kind of products, ensuring that they are diversifying their value chains and complying with new laws, particularly in the US and Europe and the United Kingdom, where we see more and more requirements for agribusinesses, shops, supermarkets, and traders to comply with these laws in the future. Today, that's very difficult, but if we create the right products, that will complete this part of the cycle. And we see this as a flywheel. The more action we take, the greater the impact that those actions will have. So it's not just about taking direct action, but we also want to develop measurement and valuation systems on top of that direct action. Let's say we create a technology that transforms an extractive industry like farming or fishing. If we take this action, it stimulates a desire to measure and value that direct action. So it's not just a case of I've got greater yield through this action or I've improved biodiversity, but if I can measure and value that, then I can begin to unlock secondary markets like carbon markets and biodiversity markets that will be coming in the future. The more measure and valuation systems that we develop, the greater that will incentivize adoption of these direct action products. And furthermore, if we are able to measure and value our actions, then there's also a nice added benefit that we would be able to learn about when those actions are better than other kinds of actions, what kind of situations, what kinds of environments, and that allows us to experiment and optimize a given action. So you can imagine sort of taking very similar actions in different regions around the world on coffee production, measuring and value how those perform against one another, and then optimizing across the entire planet. Having said all that, unlike carbon, what we've seen with biodiversity and ecosystem services is that the jury is really still out on the measurement and valuation systems that will be adopted. So we think we're probably roughly a decade from seeing that kind of maturity in the measurement and value sphere. So instead, we're very much focused on first creating the action-oriented portfolio that have the capability to be measured and valued. And we can bring online those action products first while then bringing online measurement and valuation systems in the future. And we believe that the stronger the portfolio in action, the better able we'll be able to make a portfolio of measure and value companies as well. The DSV agriculture portfolio is already acting now to deliver ecosystem outcomes, and it is already beginning to develop those measure and value systems. So we've already seen this thesis play out quite nicely. Rhizocore is a company based in Scotland, which we launched some years ago, and they are transforming the forestry and a forestry industry by sourcing mycorrhizal fungi that are symbiotic with trees and then optimizing those in the laboratory. And this has a really nice benefit of acting as a fertilizer to increase tree growth rates, enhance their resilience against disease, and also to enhance the carbon sequestration potential of all forestry, afforestry, and reforestation techniques and projects. They are already selling fungal pellets, but they will also be able to demonstrate additional value in terms of carbon sequestration for those trees and for enhancing the local resilience of the ecosystem by enhancing its biodiversity. So they're already looking at building technologies and partnerships for measurement of fungal soil carbon and tree biomass carbon as well. Aquenzo is another company that we've launched some years ago in Scotland. That's focused on reducing pressures on ocean ecosystems in particular. And they're doing this by providing alternative fish feeds that are not soy or insects, which fish don't eat, but rather they are growing the base of the ocean food chain, which is zooplankton. And they're doing that in a factory in Scotland by feeding those zooplankton with agricultural waste as a feedstock. So they are producing marine protein on land and reducing overexploitation of the oceans. And they're doing this already, successfully acting now to create these superior, best-in-class fish feeds that have the best environmental profile available. In the future, how could they start to measure and value that impact and derive additional value for customers? Well, they're looking at creating tracing systems that assure customers who are buying these alternative feed products are not coming from the ocean and that they can develop a guarantee that that's the case. And the longer term opportunity is really to follow what's happened in the carbon and forestry industries, where, like having deforestation offsets, deforestation avoided, we could go for marine harvest avoided offset credits to create additional value for Aquenzo's customers. So those are some of the companies that we've created. We will be creating more of them, but we will be doing it in different regions of the world in order to protect different agroecologies in different bioregions. What do I mean by this? We build ventures through bioregional partnerships. A bioregion is basically a geographical area defined by ecological systems rather than political boundaries and borders. So the Amazon crosses multiple countries. It is a distinct bioregion. And each of these bioregions are composed of unique ecoregions that come together to form a cohesive system, usually around watersheds and shared ecologies and biology. Now, because a bioregion is contiguous across a lot of land, you tend to see culture existing within that. But you tend to see the same kind of ecological niches and the same kind of crops in different bioregions. That is, in the tropics in Brazil, you would see the growth of particular crops that might mirror what you would see in India. Likewise, you would find similar ecologies, similar plants and animals occupying very similar niches. What we believe is that if we can solve a problem in Brazil, given that there is a similar bioregion in India, any business solving that problem in Brazil could scale to India. We can be inspired by local solutions and local knowledge in one country, pair that with similar knowledge in a different region that is the same category on another side of the planet, and create a solution that scales. And that's really important because it means that we can satisfy investor needs to see global scalability for any company, which means if we start a company in Brazil, we're going to raise money for it, and it's going to move very quickly all around the world to massively scale up that impact as fast as possible. We can then also work with local experts in each of those bioregions who understand the unique agroecology of that region and pair it with other experts around the world. And so for this reason, we've really split our partnering program into different bioregions based on the different zones of ecology and climate that you find around the world. So we've been operating in the UK for a number of years with a focus on the Atlantic and Arctic bioregions, particularly around terrestrial and aquaculture in the UK and Scotland. And we've implemented 12 plus UK government priorities by working with the Roslin Institute at the University of Edinburgh and the James Hutton Institute with support from Scottish Enterprise. And we've been working in the tropics with the Tropical Agriculture and Biodiversity Initiative, with Earth University and Cartier, big players in tropical ecosystems and agriculture in Costa Rica, so that we can spread impact that we're having to countries like Colombia, Mexico, Brazil. And we don't just have to stop there. We can activate any kind of bioregional program specific to particular ecologies and agriculture around the world. We've just proposed something to the Inter-American Development Bank to create a Southern Cone South American program focused on the subtropics from Uruguay. That would initially focus on deforestation and soil degradation on Uruguay, but given that those problems are shared in Argentina and Brazil, then we can rapidly scale those company interventions and technologies to countries that need it. And we can then also deploy those companies into other regions of the world, say in Australia. So in general, we have that capability to roll out new programs, and we're very excited to be adding more of these to the list as we speak. So with that, I'd say that's the quick overview on Deep Science Ventures agriculture. I'd love to build new ventures and regenerate nature with my entire team and with partners that you may already be in touch with. Let me know if you've got any questions. That's my email right there. And I look forward to seeing you online or in person very soon. Ciao.